Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakahakwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who ruled and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya coming at you with another lesson, and I'll be reading from an article on the economiccollapseblog.com titled WEF Survey Shows That Business Leaders Are Deeply Concerned That a Global Recession is Coming. And best believe it's going to be worse than that. What's coming down the pipeline is going to make the Great Depression back in the 20s and 30s look like a day on Sesame Street. Society and life as you know it is about to collapse. Are you ready for economic conditions to get even worse in 2025? It would be difficult to find any economist that is willing to argue that the global economic conditions are better in late 2024 than they were in late 2023. The Chinese economy is deeply struggling. Europe is a mess. And 4 years of Bidenomics have had an absolutely devastating impact here in the United States. Unfortunately, the outlook for 2025 is not good at all. In fact, a WEF survey that was just released discovered that global business leaders are very concerned that a global recession is approaching. Business leaders globally are worried about the risk of recession, labor shortages, and rising inflation, despite some signs of improvement in economic conditions, a World Economic Forum survey said on Thursday. And this brings me to my first precept in Ecclesiastes chapter 12. I'm going to read verses 3 to 4. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. And when you go into the etymology for that word economics, it means housekeeping. So those keepers of the house are speaking of what? These economists, these business leaders, these people that are in the know. And as we just read, the WEF came out with a new report saying business leaders are concerned that the world is facing a global recession, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few. And, Jake has that saying, I'm on my grind. What does that mean? Jake's out here working. So those grinders are talking about workers. And what did it also say? Business leaders globally are worried about the risk of recession. In that day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. Labor shortages, with the grinders ceasing, and rising inflation, despite some signs of improvement in the economic conditions, a WEF forum said on Thursday. And the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened, because you're not seeing sunny or good times. You're seeing doom and gloom and stormy clouds because bad times are ahead. And the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. Businesses shutting down and businesses laying people off, which means to what? Less jobs, less workers, less grinders out here. And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird. People waking up early to find a job just to find nothing. And all the daughters of music shall be brought low. The music out here in 2024 is complete garbage. Extreme weather events are an increasing concern following a year of record temperatures, severe flooding, and wildfires, including in major economies such as Brazil, Germany, Indonesia, and the United States, according to the survey of more than 11,000 business leaders from G20 countries. Then you've also got adverse weather events having an impact on what, farmers' croplands, which leads to what? Disruptions in the supply chain of getting different produce and products to these stores. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 15 in the Apocrypha. I'm going to start at verse 10. Behold, my people is led to the flock of the slaughter. And that's speaking of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans who are the true children of Israel. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. And this is speaking of spiritual Egypt as pursuant to Revelation 11 verse 8, the United States of America. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt, America, with plagues as before. Severe flooding, wildfires. You just had a 7 magnitude earthquake in California as before. And I will destroy all the land thereof. Ultimately, when those nuclear missiles hit this place during World War III. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. They that till the ground shall mourn. And who are those that till the ground? You know, these farmers out here. For their seeds shall fail through the blasting and hail, wildfires, severe weather storms, floodings, you name it, and with the fearful constellation. Again, extreme weather events are of increasing concern following a year of record temperatures, severe flooding, and wildfires, including in major economies such as the United States of America. Egypt getting hit with those plagues. When asked to rank the top risks that they are facing over the next 2 years, business leaders actually ranked economic downturn number 1. Economic downturn is seen as the top risk for business leaders over the next 2 years, when the keepers of the house shall tremble, followed by labor and or talent shortages, the grinding ceasing because, there are few, and then inflation. Poverty and inequality ranked 4th, and extreme weather events came in 5th, the survey showed. Business leaders tend to be relatively optimistic compared to the population as a whole, and so these results kind of surprised me. Of course, to many of us living in the United States, economic conditions are already so bad that it feels like a recession has already begun. And when you look at the indicators to show what would determine a recession, which I believe is 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth in the GDP, you're in a recession, which we've seen that several times already. In August, roughly 60% of Americans said they believed the U.S. was in a recession, according to a survey from a firm. Further, in October, more than half of Americans said they were worse off than they were 4 years ago, according to a Gallup poll. If you are doing better than you were 4 years ago, you should consider yourself to be incredibly blessed, because the cost of living has been rising faster than paychecks have been. And so for most of us, our standard of living has been steadily going down. The Biden administration keeps telling us that inflation is under control, but the truth is that core consumer prices have risen for 53 months in a row. The inflation story is far from over, no matter what the Fed or the White House claims. For the 53rd straight month, core consumer prices rose on a month-over-month basis in October, with the year-over-year pace re-accelerating to plus 3.33%. Once upon a time, I actually enjoyed going to the grocery store, but now it is so painful. When I get to the register, I feel like asking the cashier what organ I should sell in order to pay for my groceries. And hey, rising prices are another part of biblical prophecy. This is Revelation chapter 6. I'm going to start at verse 5. And this is dealing with the so-called, 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which are just signs of things that would be taking place during the last days, which we're currently in. And when he had opened the 3rd seal, I heard the 3rd beast say, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. And when we get that word penny in the Strongs, it's G1220, denarion. And in the outline of biblical usage, it says a Roman silver coin in New Testament times. It took its name from it being equal to 10 asses, a number after 217 BC increased to 16. It was the principal silver coin of the Roman Empire, and America is Rome reborn. So what would your modern day denarion be? That US dollar, which is what? Currently losing its value due to, the overprinting of it, which is what? Why you've got inflation and why it's going to turn to hyperinflation. From the parable of the vineyard, of the laborers in the vineyard, it would seem that a denarius was then the ordinary pay for a day's wages, because in the ancient world and according to the scriptures, when a man worked, he was paid that very same day. It's not like this wicked system now where most people are paid every 2 weeks or so. So think about it like this, a measure of wheat for a penny and 3 measures of barley for a penny, or a denarion, paying damn near your entire paycheck to get less and less goods. And what does that sound like? A cost of living crisis. Sadly, we have reached a point where more Americans than ever are just barely scraping by from month to month. In fact, Bank of America is telling us that the proportion of the U.S. population that is living paycheck to paycheck rose by 12% from early 2022 to the second half of 2024. However you define paycheck to paycheck, more of us seem to be living that way. In the Bank of America surveys, the share of consumers who said they lived from paycheck to paycheck has gradually risen from about 35% in early 2022 to 47% in the third quarter of 2024. Obviously, economic conditions in this country have been trending in the wrong direction for quite a while. So what will our country look like if we keep going down this path? At this stage, more than 20% of all U.S. renters have already had to use all of their regular income just to pay rent. Just over 1 in 5, 22% of U.S. renters say all of their regular income goes directly to paying their rent. A measure of wheat for a penny, 3 measures of barley for a penny. According to a recent Redfin Commission survey, working a second job is also a fairly common way for renters to pay housing costs, with 20% of renters citing that method. Nearly the same share, 19%, say they have worked a job they hated to afford rent. And that's the majority of these people out here, working shitty jobs with shitty pay around, shitty people. The bottom levels of the economic food chain are getting absolutely crushed. In a desperate attempt to stay afloat, many Americans are piling up staggering amounts of debt. According to the New York Federal Reserve, total credit card debt in the U.S. just reached another brand new all-time record high. Americans' credit card debt continues to climb, hitting a fresh record at the end of September, according to a new report from the New York Federal Reserve. Total credit card debt rose to $1.17 trillion during the third quarter, an increase of $24 billion from the previous quarter, according to the report. It marks the highest level on record in Fed data dating back to 2003. I've never seen U.S. consumers as financially stressed as they are right now. And now here comes more layoffs. Hey, the grinding is low because the doors are being shut in the streets. For example, we just learned that one of the largest private employers in the entire country has decided to send thousands of workers packing. Sticking with the job market, approximately 8,000 pink slips are about to go out at Cargill. The privately held company said it is laying off 5% of its global workforce. The job cuts are coming as one of America's largest private companies is grappling with falling food prices. Can anyone out there dispute the fact that we are heading in the wrong direction? Just look around. The middle class is coming apart at the seams. Poverty is exploding all around us. Homelessness in the U.S. is at an all-time record high, and demand at food banks has returned to pestilence levels. For more than a decade, I have been warning about the exact scenario that we are facing right now. And hey, first and foremost, the apostles and elders all the way down over here at GMS or Great Millstone have been warning that these times would be coming through biblical prophecy. We are right around the door of Jacob's trouble, a time worse than any other in human history, taking place. But now I'm going to close it out in Isaiah 24. I'm going to read verses 7 to 11. The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh. Cost of living crisis, spending damn near your entire paycheck just to pay your rent, inflation, labor shortages, layoffs, global recession. Nobody has anything to look forward to. The mirth of tabrets ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoice endeth, the joy of the harp ceaseth. And we can see this perfectly with these holidays, especially with, this past Thanksgiving. A couple of years ago, I would have seen, the streets around my house, filled up with cars, but it just looked like a regular Thursday this year. And, Black Friday had dismal numbers. Is because what? People don't have the money or the spirit to rejoice in these holidays anymore because, times are just bad out here. They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. Instead of drinking to celebrate a job promotion or enjoying the weekends, people are drinking and doing drugs to drown out the sorrows and the misery of their current predicament. The city of confusion is broken down, and Babylon, which is another name for America in the scriptures, Babylon the Great. Babylon is Babel in the Hebrew, which means confusion. So the city of confusion, America, is breaking down, which we can clearly see from that article. Every house is shut up, that no man may come in. These businesses laying off workers are going out of business. There is a crying for wine in the streets, and that wine is going into, answers, understanding. What are we going to do? Is this situation going to get better? All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. And unless you're of the hopeful elect with this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding in you, hey, there is no good news coming your way. The joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is the only thing you have to look forward to. And then World War III, martial law, food shortages, economic collapses, and ultimately nuclear missiles destroying America. But that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere, Akim, and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharallah, and until next time, Shalom.